Have you struggled with building effective Wanzers in Front Mission 3 Remake? Does it seem that what should be an overpowered machine gets taken out way too easily? Well then, whether you're a veteran player who maybe needs a refresher, or you're new to Front Mission 3, this guide is for you. Now, I've been playing through the game and trying to experiment with different ideas I've researched online, digging into the mechanics behind the veil to build the best Wanzers I can. So while I'm still digging into the deeper aspects of the game, I can give you a great place to start and build from while you do your own experiments as well. The first place you should look when building a Wanzer is actually at the weapon or weapons you want it to use. You can then build the unit around this weapon, creating a far more effective platform. So let's quickly cover the different weapon types and their uses. First up are the melee weapons, like fists and batons. These weapons generally do high damage with high accuracy in one attack on an enemy. A couple good melee attacks can take out lighter Wanzers, especially missile launching ones, pretty easily, though you could also hit 4 different parts in 4 different attacks and not actually destroy anything on the enemy. Most melee weapons do impact damage though, which has a chance to stun enemy units. There are also some pretty strong skills associated with melee weapons, which we'll talk about a bit later. Next up are your medium range multi-hit weapons like machine guns, shotguns, and flamers. These tend to be a lot of fun to use because they can chew up multiple parts on enemy Wanzers, though this also spreads their potential damage over multiple parts, doing less damage to each as a result. These weapons can be great for finishing off an enemy who has low body health, for instance, but still has other parts intact, as at least a few shots will probably hit the body and destroy it, where a single hit weapon could just hit the legs, for instance, and keep the enemy a threat. I should also mention that the shotguns do impact damage like melee weapons do, making them good for occasionally stunning enemies as well. Finally, we have our long-range weapons such as rifles, missiles, and grenades. These are great as standoff weapons that can be fired without the threat of a counterattack, except in the case of rifles, of course, if you happen to get too close to your target. Rifles can be good if you build for them with the proper skills, though their accuracy in one-shot attack can be detrimental in the early game. Missiles are generally really good as an artillery weapon, though I wouldn't use more than one missile-equipped Wanzer per mission, as they tend to be pretty flimsy on the defense since missile launchers are so heavy. Finally, I haven't used grenades that much, but they do an area attack where accuracy wanes on units farther away from the main target. These can also hit your own units though. So my main experience with these has actually been enemy units targeting my melee units with grenades and doing major damage to their own allies, which is kind of hilarious and also more helpful to me than to the enemy. Missiles and grenades do fire damage, and rifles do piercing damage. Generally, I like to use one missile unit and then either 2 melees in a medium range or 2 mediums and a melee unit. This gives me a good balanced team that can handle most threats without too much trouble. So now that we've covered weapons, let's talk Wanzer parts. In general, there are 3 varieties of Wanzers and Wanzer parts that fit the 3 varieties of weapons. Light with low HP, high energy, medium with medium HP, medium energy, and heavy with high HP, low energy. Heavy for melee, medium for machine guns, flamers, shotguns, and light for long-range weapons, particularly missiles and grenades. Now, there is a ton that could be said breaking down every single piece of every single Wanzer in the game, but we'll go over the quick and dirty version of Wanzer building here, so this video isn't 3 hours long. The first thing to remember is that each Wanzer, and by extension pilot, should specialize in only 1 or maybe 2 weapon types. Then you should generally pick the body that has a skill relating to your chosen weapon type, then choose the one with more HP. For arms, you should pick one arm based again on the skill that it can give you, and then the other arm should be the highest HP one you can get, regardless of its skill, equipped with a shield. Finally, for legs, pick the heaviest ones that you can that don't go over your energy limit. For most Wanzers, use a power backpack to buff your energy so you can use heavier, higher HP parts, as most battles shouldn't last long enough for items to be necessary in my experience. The exception to this would be missile or grenade units. Equip them with an item backpack and fill it with reloads for their launcher. Now, let me explain the reasoning a bit here. Picking a body and arm that has skills you can use is very important because even though skill activation is random, it will make the difference in many battles, especially later in the game. Plus, you can equip better computers later on that can increase either your activation chance or your combo chance of having multiple skills activate. So using a heavier melee body for your ranged Wanzer would be good for survivability, but you'll lose a chance to learn a new skill. Also, remember to occasionally switch out to the new parts you get access to. a lot of the time they won't necessarily have better stats, but they will allow you to learn a new skill, and once a pilot learns a skill, they can use it whether they still have the part that gave it to them in the first place or not. The shield arm is a must in my book. Shields can be used when countering enemy attacks, and unlike in the previous two front mission games, they are guaranteed to work and force all damage to go into the arm they are attached to at a greatly reduced rate. Using a shield on most or all of your units will greatly increase your survivability. Also, generally, using two different weapons on one Wanzer is a waste unless you are trying to use a skill that requires two weapons. This is because you can only ever attack with one weapon at a time, so you might as well just equip a shield, which will keep your attacking arm from taking damage in the first place. Now, in the footage you may see, I do have Kazuki using a shotgun and a melee weapon, which would of course be against this advice, but you can get away with having one unit if it has enough HP on its various parts that uses two weapons to use the two weapon skills I mentioned. However, Kazuki's two weapon skill seems to activate so little that I am considering just going full shield. So then we come to the legs. Using the heaviest legs you can means that your units will have more mobility, as melee legs, the heavier ones, have the highest movement of any legs. Your missile units can get away with lighter legs since they have such a great range, but I only do this to get the skills from them, as lighter legs tend to be supportive of your long-range weapons. Building your Wanzers in this way should help make most missions in the game a lot easier. Now, this isn't the only way to play or build Wanzers, of course, but I do think it is probably the most beginner-friendly way. Then on a second playthrough for the second story, you can experiment more with other builds, perhaps. Now, the last bit to cover, which we've touched on some already, is the various skills. There are quite a few different skills to learn throughout the game, some of them great and others very mid. A few I recommend would be ROF1 in its various upgraded versions, as this increases the amount of shots that come from multi-shot weapons like machine guns, shotguns, and flamers. ROF, or multiple activations of it, can tear enemies to shreds. Stun Punch is an excellent melee skill that does as the name suggests and stuns enemies, which usually keeps them out of the fight for a few rounds. Then there is Pilot Damage, which directly damages the pilot. I have this on my missile unit, and occasionally this can go off during a salvo and hit enough times to actually kill the enemy pilot, allowing me to capture and sell off their Wanzer. There are also skills like Arm Smash or Leg Smash that instantly take out that part on an enemy Wanzer, and so many more. I definitely encourage you to experiment with various parts and learn new skills to experiment and find the ones that you like best. The last thing to remember when building your Wanzers is to make sure you are upgrading every chance you get. Using the upgrade menu, you can buff the health, defense, accuracy, and mobility of your Wanzers, and this is essential to keep your Wanzers effective as the game progresses. I'd recommend focusing on HP and defense first, and then accuracy for those who need it, like Wanzers using single-hit weapons. Now, there is a lot more that could be said about building Wanzers and min-maxing units, but that is far beyond the scope of this video, as I just wanted to get a good foundation set up for everyone. If you have any other thoughts or tips to add, please comment below. What did I miss? Did I get something egregiously wrong? I and everyone else wants to know. I always enjoy hearing everyone else's tips and strats, and who knows, maybe I'll share them in a future video. Now, if I was able to help you out, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more strategy RPG chats. It really does help me and the channel out. Thank you so much for watching, have a great day, and keep on gaming.